Welcome to another episode of Aurogiri. Today is a beautiful Saturday. It's been raining on and off, really warm out, really nice. So I'm good. Anyway, we did a guide I think a month or two ago about Riku, and I think it's time we do a guide on Tsugumo, who some might call the blue Riku, but don't actually underestimate Tsugumo. In the past, I did very much recommend Riku to people. Like when it was Gala, they said, "What free scroll should I get?" And I said, "A one scroll Riku is really, really good." And people were like, well, "What about Tsugumo?" And when Tsugumo first came out, everyone's like, "Well, look at Shikaibu, she's so cool. Riku, she's so strong." And then Tsugumo was like Siegfried 2.0, and it's like, no, Tsugumo actually carried that entire Fox event. Tsugumo has been nothing but a blessing upon getting her. I've talked to many of my friends. They asked me, what do I use my Rosus on? And I'd ask them what they have. I asked them if they have any Sugumos, and I said, if you get, at least 2 scrolls of Tsugumo, you're set. You have the build. You can do whatever you want. So Tsugumo is actually, in my opinion, the best Ice Vanguard in the game. She also packs really powerful lightning. It's really unreal, like how powerful she is. And she has this slow start mechanic that when you're using her meter starts out at 0. But as you start like attacking and using moves that make her heat up, her attack percentage goes up. So Riku, on the other hand, starts at like 150% attack, and then as you use her, she runs out of charge, and she has to charge herself back up. Tsugumo starts at 0 and powers her up gradually. It's sort of like watching Goku fight, in a way, where Goku has to warm up, and like as the fight goes on, he gets stronger and stronger and stronger as the fight goes on. And Riku is very, very much like that. So she'll start out at 0% attack, like a percent bonus. And then as you continue to use her, your attack power is going to double. It is going to increase by up to 1.5 times, so 150% attack. And that is huge. Like Miyamoto was 100%. She's 150. It's not even a skill. It's built into her character. So let's open up the screen and look at what Tsugumo brings to the table. So Tsugumo is she's a 5-scroll Vanguard. That's all she is. She doesn't have any hidden scrolls or anything like that. I don't think she has much locked behind awakening levels. She might have her buff attack, which is not essential. It's not even a buff. It's a defensive triple Aegis, as it's called, so you'll get protected from 3 hits. She has an attack like that I believe is locked at 5 scroll. I'm not 100% sure. But for the most part, how you want to play Tsugumo, it doesn't require much investment. 2 scrolls is like good enough. 5 is optimal. 4 is perfect, but 2 or 3 scrolls, you're fantastic. At least 2. A 1 scroll that's kind of like you can manage, but you can't really tap into her full potential without having multiple weapons. Very similar to how Oda is played, but this is how we play it. So Tsugumo is strong against the SL type, so just for relevancy, she was strong against Hades Helios. I used her on Hades Helios like 2 hours ago, and I couldn't believe how well that went. Like, her and Riku are both good on SL, and Helios is weak to lightning. I'm like, let's go use Riku, and it's like, Tsugumo just I was like, I couldn't believe how good Tsugumo did. It was amazing. So, Tsugumo is, she's really good type-wise. She's good against SL, good against Monster, weak to Spectre, and neutral to Beast. So, only having 1 weakness is great. A neutrality, it's okay, it's great. It's better than being a weakness, but you're still strong against SL and M, which are some very common monster types. Like the Dragon Arcs, for example. With Tsugumo, like you guys over when Gakuho Purge was here, you guys could have seen me streaming. I was soloing Gakuho with Tsugumo. Like, I had first aid staff, and I'd just spam meteors, and very rarely I'd get knocked out, and I'd do like a 4 or 5 minute run or whatever. It worked really well. Like, Tsugumo can solo Gakuho Purge. But you would need like the full timer to do it. Like, you would need 5 scrolls for that. But if you can fill up again on a crystal, then you can solo it too. Very much so. So what Tsugumo excels at, like what she's going to give you, is 100 Pierce Element upon swap, 50 Lightning, and 50 Fire, and 50 Ice. And funny enough, she only has like 1 Ice attack, but she will give you 50 Ice for it. So you're getting a lot of elements. You're getting, and even if you're not using those attacks specifically, those are also resistances. So you're getting a huge pierce resistance, a lightning resistance, a fire resistance, and an ice resistance. So 4 elements there. And then her negatives to watch out for are mountain and rain. Those are her 2 negatives. And even though she was weak to mountain, very rarely did Gakuho like blow me up. Like I did not take very much damage from him when using Tsugumo. You also get 2,000 HP, 15% extra HP on top of that, 150 SP, which is very negligible, 15% SP, that's nice. SP reduction, which doesn't really matter because I still don't know why they put SP reduction on Vanguards, because their skills should just be what they're supposed to be. They don't need to be reduced. I don't get that at all. It's kind of redundant. And then if you do a successful guard, your overall damage reduction is increased by 25%. 15 movement speed, not bad, and 10% attack on swap and 10 power. So whatever that's worth, you get a bit more HP on swap because of that power, and you get more affinity as well. So I don't even know if that factors into your attack at all. But anywho, let's get into her skills. So first off, I'm gonna go over how I have Tsugumo built, and then we're gonna go into each skill just so we can see how I've done it, and then we'll go into what each skill does. Okay. So her weapon is called the Lunar Cannon Gleam. It's considered a bow. I think when you're feeding Tsugumo, she will like bows because of projectiles and stuff. So you can farm a zombie crossing, get her to 60, whatever, Artemis bow it up. You know what to do. So this is the buff move here. It's called Type 28 Triple Aegis. Just to confirm, I want to know if it is awakening locked. I think it is. It is not. Wow. Okay. I really thought it was. So it is not awakening locked, and it does a lot for you. Like when I first got her, this wasn't so detailed. I know that it gives you 3 barriers for 30 seconds. Basically, all those barriers do, triple Aegis, is the next 3 hits that would hit you are nullified. It's just any 3 hits. The hit could be 1 damage. It could be like let's say you were fighting Elios and he started doing his big suck-up attack, and it hits you for 1 and pulls you in, it would still consume that. So the next 3 hits that would hit you are all, alleviated. You will not take damage. It is pretty clutch for, some single-hit attacks that you just don't want to get hit by, that are coming. Like, if something big is coming against a certain boss or whatever, you can deploy Barrier. It does have a long cooldown on it, 300 seconds, so you can only use it, twice per swap, let's say, on a 3-minute timer. But yeah, if you know a big attack's coming, let's say, now not that you would bring her to Glacies, but if Glacies was throwing his big ice ball at you, you could use it, and you could use it if you knew it was coming and just block a couple hits or whatever. But I usually just throw it up at the start of battle, and I get to avoid some stuff. Like when the Gakuho rushes at you or whatever, you can avoid a couple of those ticks, which is enough to maybe safely dodge out of the way. So it does save lives. So yeah, there is no awakening level limit to it. You just got to level her to 50. It also gives you attack potency 20% and 10 attack speed. So you get 10 attack speed and 20% attack. I imagine attack potency is 20%. So unless potency has something to do with her bar that increases it by 20%, I can't see it. It probably just is attack 20%. So when you use it, you gain 20% attack for 30 seconds. That's pretty good. So if you're at max power, you could technically be at 170% attack, which is great. I thought it just gave 3 barriers. So, I mean, I always just see caps with Tsugumo, and as you will use Tsugumo and you start using her attacks, you just cap all the time. You really don't know how much the attack truly matters until you're fighting that really strong enemy with a lot of defenses and stuff. But yeah, it's really nice. For 30 seconds, you get 20% attack, 3 barriers, and 10 attack speed. So on the first weapon, I run that, and then I have 2 Hazardous Volleys. So Hazardous Volley is a fire and pierce attack. This move is, for the most part, not used for damage. This move is very unique, and I'll show it later. I'm going to go over all the skills and how I have her built, and then we're going to go try her out and stuff. Have some fun, as we did with her sister. So Hazardous Volley it's an interesting attack. When you use it, you'll use it and you'll have 5 flames. And if you hold the button, Tsugumo just hops on her giant gun like a witch flying around on her broomstick. and the gun will just propel her forward and just go like boom, 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 and you'll like go really, really far forward. It's almost like Eternal War, but not as fast. But it will damage everything in front of you. Like you'll just shoot everything, like bang, 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 and it does do damage, but it will also propel you forward. It's almost more akin to a lunge step that you can aim. So this attack actually factors in what you're doing with your left stick or with your keys or whatever, and it's not dependent. It's weird. Like you have to use camera control and movement at the same time when you use Hazardous Volley, and we'll go over that later. But basically, if you just held it down, you would just like go halfway across the map. When I was fighting Gakuho Purge, I would break a crystal, switch weapon, and then use Hazardous Volley and just like propel myself through the area. And that way you get to like travel really fast without expending your stamina, especially in a fight against the Arcs where they cut your stamina consumption in half, so it makes it more difficult. And you can also, so wherever your camera's facing, you'll go that direction. But if you tilt your controls around, like if you use your left stick, you can make her like shift to the left, shift to the right, circle around an enemy, or even back up. She'll start shooting in reverse so you can gain some distance. Hello, welcome to the stream. You didn't miss much. You did not miss much, but I'm glad you're here doing the Blue Riku guide. We just talked about Triple Aegis and Hazardous Volley. Triple Aegis, we learned that it gives you 3 protections, 3 protective barriers, so protects you from your next 3 hits. And it also gives you 20% attack, and it's not locked behind scrolls. I really thought it was a 5-scroll skill with how good it was. But yeah, it gives you 20% attack, 10 attack speed, and 3 protections. You just got to raise it to 50, you can have it at 1 scroll. Fantastic. And you really only need it on 1 weapon, because it's one of those things like Tristan where you can't stack the buff. Like you can't like override the cooldown by putting it on multiple weapons. Like once you put it on 1 weapon, and if you had it on 2 weapons, both their cooldowns would be triggered. You cannot activate a second Triple Aegis until the initial cooldown goes by. Morning, Junk Dog. Welcome. So Hazardous Volley, it's basically just a movement skill. Like you can use it for damage. I don't really recommend using Tsugumo for fire. This is Tsugumo, not Ieyasu. If that's what you mean. Tsugumo is Tsugumo Lunar Gleam. She's from the moon. I got her years ago. So on my first weapon, I run, the shields and then 2 movement options and then Blue Moon Falling. I'll show you right now. The only Oogie I use on Tsugumo is Blue Moon Falling. And they all say 5, like they're just like got a V. But this is a rank 6 and this is rank 7. And I run it on all 4 weapons. And the reason for that is because it's her best Oogie. Every other Oogie has like a bunch of like BS tied to it. They do cool stuff, but they like take meter, they use meter. It's like really, really just grimy. Like it's the stuff they gave us in the test dungeon that's like, hey, let's take like 20 seconds to do like very little damage. Like all her other Oogies, like I really honestly, I don't know what they do. And this guide's going to be focused on how, like it's not an overview of like, this is a sample of every skill. This is how I use Tsugumo. This is how I make her very, very, very effective. I get results with her. So that's the main gist of this. But Blue Moon Falling is literally Tsugumo to the T. Blue Moon Falling is an Ogi with like it comes out really fast. I don't think there's any iframes on it, and if there is, it's like a frame or 2. It's not much. But Blue Moon Falling, if you've seen me fight Gakuho ever, it's literally I will get into a position where I can hit the enemy, and I will use Blue Moon Falling, and then switch skill, Blue Moon Falling, switch weapon, Blue Moon Falling, Blue Moon Falling, and I just keep doing that until I run out of SP. That's literally the play. Like that is the strat. It's very single-minded, but it's just how it's done. Like the move does have a lot of cooldown. Blue Moon Falling has, well, it's not a lot. It's 9.5 seconds. And then the other one is 11 seconds. And it's not that long, but you can just switch weapons and just keep spamming and get into the motions, into the motions, into the motions. And this move has like 7,000 skill force. It's a lot. The rank 6 hits twice for cap, and the rank 7 hits 3 times for cap. So basically, every time you go like skill, switch weapon, you're doing 50 million, 50 million, 50 million. And it's just like, 50 million, 100 million. And you do that like, 10 times. You do like a full rotation, you're at like 200 million damage. You do that 5 times, you're at 1 billion damage. You do that like, and you double that, you're at 2 billion, Like it goes really quick. Like once Tsugumo gets in the opportunity to like unleash hell, it's over. It's done. Like if your opponent is weak to ice and you're just pumping out caps, it is just indiscriminate damage of just cap, cap, cap. It doesn't even matter if you like expand her gauge, you go to 0% attack. For the most part, it doesn't matter. And if it does matter, you've gone from doing cap to like 7.5 million, and it's like, I don't care. It would take me longer to reset my my advantage than it would be to just keep spamming attacks. So yeah, so basically I run Blue Moon Falling on every single weapon, and that's where I get my results. And then I have a few other normal skills that do have uses, and they do have a lot of uses. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, yes, like most people that have used Tsugumo or have watched someone use Tsugumo, they're like, yeah, Blue Moon Falling. She is Blue Moon Falling the character, but her normal skills are not to be underestimated, especially Triple H's. Hazardous Volley is movement. I run that on the first weapon, as I mentioned. On my second weapon, I run Plasmapocalypse, and Plasmapocalypse is ridiculous. Plasmapocalypse has a 7-second cooldown on the rank 7 and a 6-second cooldown on the rank 6. Plasmapocalypse, its skill force is really high, 3,811 on rank 7, like at my current level 36, and 2895 at rank 6. And its SP cost is very low, like 90 and 110, and then they do have the SP reduction on that as well, so it's more akin to, like, they're both like under 100. You can spam the crap out of this thing. Very, very powerful. But the thing about Plasmapocalypse is that if you wanted to use Tsugumo for Thunder, and you just, like, swapped into her, I'll show it, don't worry. I'm going to go through the entire, like, how I build her, and then we're going to go use her. Don't worry about that. We're just going through the technical before we get to the practical. So Plasmapocalypse, if you just went into the Vanguard and started spamming Thunder, you're going to be like, well, this isn't doing that much damage. So the thing about Plasmapocalypse is that Tsugumo does have a bar that goes up over time, but the more you use skills like Blue Moon Falling, like she begins overheating. Like if you overheat the gauge, you lose all the bonuses. Plasmapocalypse will not overheat Tsugumo. Tsugumo does have moves that lower her heat, but Plasmapocalypse takes no energy. So once you ramp up Tsugumo's attack to like 100%, 130%, 150%, you just get into the opportunity, the enemy's weak to lightning, maybe not, and you just start spamming Plasmapocalypse, and it's like, I want to say it's like 7 to 10 ticks of skill, so it's like 70, 80 million damage, and you can spam them back to back. It's like having a whirlwind thrust you're not locked into, and there's 2 of them. And it's just bam, 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 bam. And you'll start hearing like, safety, 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 kaicho, kaicho. And it's just they die. I did put out a video a little while ago of trying out Tsugumo on Elios, and I was in awe. I was like, holy crap. I was not expecting her to do that much. I didn't even get her attack. I wanted to just spam ice to get her attack really high, but then the ice was capping, and I'm like, ice doesn't cap on Elios. Like, not to my knowledge. I'm like, what's going on? So here we are. And then I run another Hazardous Volley as a utility skill, so like I can use it to quickly escape, lunge away, dash away, etc., etc. And then, as I mentioned, double Blue Moon Falling. On my third weapon is, again on the third slot, Hazardous Volley. That's just how I like to play it. It's a move that, it's my get out of jail free card, my lunge, my, my mobility skill, as it were. So Gatling Vision, as a warning to PS4 players or Switch players or people that run on a very low operating system, like this is a PS5 skill, okay? Just a little preference there. This will chug your system if you use it too much. Okay, so Gatling Vision, Tsugumo does a backflip and she deploys 3 turrets with the rank 7. And the 3 turrets will just shoot bullets like you're fighting a Benkei, just bang, bang, bang. You ever done Palace and all the bullets start coming out and your game just starts chugging? Okay, you're in control of that power. That is what Tsugumo has. She has the Benkei gun. So Gatling Vision is that. She summons 3 Benkei guns, essentially, focused on, like, they all make like a reverse cone looking into the target in front of you, and they just shoot, 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 shoot. and it hits a lot. It's not like that much damage, let's say, but your hit count goes up incredibly fast. Like, you use one of these, I'm pretty sure it's like 50 hits, 60 hits, 70 hits. Like, if they all hit, like, it's just your hit count goes up. And it doesn't do that much damage, but, like, depending, if the enemy's weak to pierce, it will actually do decent damage. Like, if every tick did 1,000,000, well, you just did 50,000,000 for a very low SP cost. Like, it just bang, bang. You throw it out, it stays out for a little while. It's a turret, basically. Ideally, like, this is, like, big galaxy brain and years of investment Tsugumo, but, like, this is, like, endgame Tsugumo, in a sense, where if you had the Magatamas that give you damage multiplier bonuses, so let's say, for example, you had Aosame Magatamas, like the Dragon Arc 133 Magatamas, Aosame, which basically, I'm only mentioning Aosame because it's lightning, and Tsugumo has lightning, so you can build for lightning. You could do fire as well, like with not Gakko, what's his name? Tensho, because she does have fire element as well. And then she doesn't have any wind and mountain, so we don't talk about the Gakko mags. But if you had like Tensho mags or Aosame mags, and the reason I say Aosame is because you would actually build Tsugumo for lightning. Like, fire is like negligible; it's not a damage element on her. If you had like 2 of those mags, and every time you landed a proc, like you proc to hit, you would trigger damage multipliers. If you had like 4 damage multipliers on a move that's hitting 100, 200 times in like 3 seconds, you're pumping out so much bonus damage that it doesn't even matter what you're doing. Like, it'd be ludicrous. Like, it's like a pipe dream that I want to try eventually, but you know, right now I don't have access to that mag. But if I did, oh god, it would just be like bang, 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 bang. It'd be so much numbers. Like, the game does that. If there's so many numbers, you stop seeing numbers. That's how much damage you're doing. That's good damage. So I run 2 of those on that weapon, and the primary reason for that is, yes, it is pierce. So if an enemy's weak to pierce, you can throw that out and you know, do some extra damage in between your Blue Moon Fallings. But be warned that this will chug your allies. So if someone on your team is playing on PS4 or a lower operating system than you, like they're not on PS5 or they don't have a gaming PC, etc., Gatling can be hazardous to your teammates. My main use for it, and this is the best part, is Chiami. So if you have yourself like a Chiami built for element or crit or whatever, you have a Chiami incorporated into your build because you don't want to die. So Tsugumo does not, with this certain build, with the Blue Moon Falling build, you don't get iframes. You have to be smart. You're playing for real. There's no iframes to cheese everything. But what you do is, if you run a Chiami, whether it's ornamented for ice or lightning or whatever you want to do with it, crit force, whatever you need on your build, if you're hitting them 100 times in 5 seconds, you get a full heal. Like, when I was fighting Gakko, I'm like really low on health. Like, I'm only getting like 3 hits of crit with my meteors, so I'm not healing much. But if I was really low on health and I don't have time to eat a Shenlong, I throw down a Gatling Vision, I'm back to full health instantly. Like, it's essentially the same thing a spear user would do with Stone Spire Barrier, where if you have a Chiami and a Mountain Chiami, Stone Spire Barrier, that thing hits 15 times per use. And if you crit like half of those, you just full heal. You just don't die. As long as you don't get stunned, you just don't die. Like, it's one of those immortal builds. So you can be like immortal Tsugumo with Chiami. It's a really great life, like a safeguard to your build. And then my final weapon has Heat Purge, Fortress 7, and again Hazardous Volley for movement, and double Blue Moon Falling. So that's what I'm running, Blue Moon Falling on every weapon. Like, that's not a joke. That is the optimal decision here. So Fortress 7 is basically, it's a fire and pierce attack. She just puts her gun forward and unleashes a whole slew of bullets, okay? So it just goes straight in a straight cone. It's like 64 hits, like dang near instantaneously. And if you're wearing a Chiami, like, you just go to full health. Like, it's not there to do damage. It's there to, like, make you not die. And then finally, the most important tool is Heat Purge. Now, I used to run like 2 Heat Purges just so that it was easier for me to find, but having it on the first slot and I just keep switching weapons till I find it, like, I just know where it is. Like, I'm not lost for it. Heat Purge is essential. It is a 5-second cooldown. Heat Purge, I think it's unlocked at base. I don't think it's locked at all. Heat Purge, Heat Purge, Heat Purge. Where is it? That's a good question. Oh, there it is, Heat Purge. You get it at level 1. So what Heat Purge does is it initiates the emergency cooling protocols to reset gauge. Also raises status for 30 seconds. The buff effects, she gains 10 ice and 10 lightning. It's very negligible. The main point of it is like when she's overheating and you're at negative attack. Oh yeah, if you overheat, you lose like 50% attack, by the way. So that's kind of a problem. It's not that you're not getting 150% attack. It's that you're actually negative attack. So you need to Heat Purge in most cases. Sometimes you can be a negative attack and Tsugumo is still going to pump out like 7 mils. Like it's like, whatever. Sometimes it's whatever, but when it's not, you need to Heat Purge. And basically Tsugumo will sit down she'll just sit down for like 2 seconds. And then you can't do anything. I don't believe you're invincible while doing it. So you need to pick a safe place to do so. She'll release she'll lower her gauge back to 0, and then you're ready to keep going again. But as I mentioned earlier, if you're just using Plasmapocalypse, you never have to worry about this unless you actually overheat, because Plasmapocalypse will not overheat you. You will stay at wherever you're at and just pump out damage like you wouldn't believe. So Heat Purge is like you have to do it when you overheat. It's just part of how she plays. So basically, if you had like a 2-scroll Tsugumo, let's say like you have a 2-scroll, you would have your first weapon primarily built the same. You would have like the triple Aegis, double Hazardous Volley for movement. It's honestly just good to have that, and then double Blue Moon Falling. And then your second weapon would just become my 4th in a way. It's actually debatable. If you only had 2 scrolls, because you do want Plasmapocalypse. So you would probably just run Plasmapocalypse and Heat Purge, to be honest, at a 2-scroll. You wouldn't have a second Hazardous Volley. You would just run Plasmapocalypse, Heat Purge, double Blue Moon Falling, and you'd have your triple Aegis, and then 2 volleys. And then it'd be up to you if you wanted to sacrifice one of the volleys for like Fortress, just so you could have a healing mechanic, but it's really up to you what you want to do. Obviously, like mine's a 5 scroll, so my build is centered around that. Like the third weapon, like as I mentioned, it's just like a healing thing. Like if they're weak to pierce, like it's like a secondary concern. It's not that important. The main gist of it is basically if you're just fighting a boss that's weak to ice, and that's what you're using Tsugumo for, you're going to use Blue Moon Falling, and on console with a controller, there's a special way to switch really fast. So you'd go like, you would hit like L1 and then R2 and then L1, and then you'd hold circle, and then you'd hit down or your weapon swap button and mash circle, which forces switch to come out really fast. It cancels the menu where it has all your weapons displayed, and it just instant swaps, and you get to just keep spamming and spamming and spamming. And it takes a while to figure it out, but it's just like L1, R2, L1, down, circle, L1, and then you just like cycle the 2 Oogis, down, circle, because circle's the cancel button, and down is weapon swap, and then you just machine gun motion it. You just practice it, and it's way faster than first aiding and stuff. It's literally like the same thing, but you're pumping out damage, and that's how that would go. But at a 2-scroll, that's what I would recommend. Anything beyond that, as long as you have those 2 bases covered, something with Purge, triple Aegis, movement, Plasmapocalypse, and then a third weapon, you could have a more dedicated Gatling Vision or Fortress weapon, and then just more Blue Moon Falling. Ultimately, like, you could say like, hey, I want a different Ogi than Blue Moon Falling, and you could throw it on the third weapon, but it destroys the whole concept of the build, because then you have to like consciously think, okay, I gotta switch 2 weapons, I gotta do this. Like, it's just not as effective. Like, she does have other Oogis, Plasma Sweeper. I honestly don't know what these are. Like, I'm gonna be 100% dead ass with you. I have no idea what these other Oogis are. I've tried them. Like, Reaper is like a super version of Hazardous Volley. Like, she jumps up and does a bunch of attacks, and you can maneuver it. It's not worth doing. It's a fire lightning split. Like, it's just not good. Plasma Sweeper, fire lightning split again. Glacial Annihilation. I don't remember what that is, but that's a lightning ice split. Despair is the one they give you in the test dungeon when her event rolls around, and like it makes lasers come from the sky. It depletes your energy, like you need energy to use it. It's so overly complicated. Gun Parade is the one where she just shoots forever, and you do a whole bunch of hits and no damage because this attack is fire, ice, lightning, and pierce. Like, it's the one you use in the test dungeon, because the test dungeon, the Tsugumo they give you is like Tsugumo do butter. Like, it's just all her worst skills. Like, here you go. And it's like, this is horrible. But then you actually get her, and it's like, oh, she actually had good skills. Like, it was really bad advertising for Tsugumo. I don't know why. And then Blue Moon Falling down here at the bottom. Like, then you have Salvation. Blue Moon Falling 5 is unlocked at level 25. You'll get that easily. And Blue Moon Falling 6 is unlocked at level 55. Really? So 25, 55, you'll get 5 and 6. And honestly, that's enough. But if you do manage to awaken her to... This is why I mentioned you have to get her to level 2, awakening level 2, so 2 scrolls. So whether that's you get 1 scroll from the Nian or 2 from the Yorozu or whatever, you scrap her. Anyway, once you hit 2 scrolls, you can now Blue Moon Falling 6 and 7 and just go to town. Ultimately, you build her for a little bit of ice. She doesn't need much. This move has so much skill force. It's 100% ice. So long as you're using it on the right enemies, you're fine. But because it is 100% ice, if you are fighting an enemy that is like immune to ice or resistant to ice, it will do 0 damage. So, you know, this build is made under the consideration of you're using Tsugumo for ice and lightning. Anything else beyond that, use somebody else. But this is like the best way to get effectiveness out of Tsugumo, in my opinion. Alright, so let's go try her out. Let's go do the test dungeon as Junk Dog requested. That way we'll be able to look at all the moves I mentioned, and then we'll go find some dungeons after that. So I have to find her. Is that how that works? I don't usually do test dungeon because the enemies have no defense. Like, I find it's good for finding out how many hits something does, but at the end of the day, you don't actually, it's not representative of an enemy with defense. So, like, it's good to just, like, see what a skill can do or whatever. But the damage we do in here is not indicative of what she would do in a real dungeon. Okay, so there she is. Let's get what do you say? How do you say that? Let's get a picture on, you know, what this stuff looks like. We talked the theory. Let's just play around a bit. Alright, so Tsugumo's fully charged. We can spawn all the things here. Okay. So there's the triple Aegis. A barrier comes on you, and you get 3 little things here. And these are the Aegises, so when you get hit, it negates an attack. They all have independent timers. They last 30 seconds. Weapon handling down, that's from my mags. That's the chocolate lychee. And then the other buff that increases your attack by 20% is invisible, but it is tied to these. So when these go away, you lose your 20% attack and attack speed. And then its cooldown is pretty long. So it just ended the 30 seconds. And with 80 cooldown, we probably have another, 10-15 seconds before we could do it again. It's not that bad if you're at max cooldown. Okay, so Hazardous Volley, as I mentioned, this is a movement skill. So if you just held the button, you just go forward and shoot everything. Rank 7 has 6 flames, and that's what you do. So if you do any directional input, so if I just move the camera, she will turn to face forward. And just keep doing that. Now if I use left stick and I hold left, she will start doing a circle around the position in which I started holding it. But you can mix it up. Like, as long as you keep messing up, or not messing up, but changing your inputs, it will change how she performs. So if I go forward, left, right, you know, she'll start bobbing and weaving while maintaining constant gunfire. So if I wanted to just, like, go around this guy, I'd approach, go around. It's not 100% accurate because it does push the enemy and stuff. And enemies will move and go towards you, so it's more of an evasive thing, to be honest. And you can go backwards, too. Like, if the enemy's approaching you, it's like, hey, I want to get close. Like, oh, shit, he's doing an attack. Too close. You can do that as well. Just back it up. And like other skills, you can chain it to the other one. Like Eternal War and stuff. It's not as instantaneous. I don't think you can actually cancel it into itself, but The cooldown's really, really fast. It's just a split second when you can't use it at the end. So that's why I run 2. But on like another weapon, I could just be like, okay, attack, attack. Oh shit, he's coming. Let me get out of there. And I would just do that, like backdash, instead of just, backdashing. I wonder if you can hold a direction while you hit it and it will affect the start of it. You can't. So that the first time you press Hazardous Volley, it has to go forward. But every other one can go any other direction. So keep that in mind. So like, I want to get closer. Oh, too close, back up, go right, go left, whatever you want to do. So it's very much a momentum-based attack. Alright, so the timer's going to switch out, so let's switch back in. Cool. Alright, cool. So that's the Hazardous Volley. Plasmapocalypse is a lightning attack. It hits 10 times, and it paralyzes. You can see it's doing like almost cap, like 9 millions. Basically, you just spam this, and she'll say safety, 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 safety. It has even stunned him. Like, this move has, like, the animation just cancels itself. It's really amazing. And as you notice here, I'm using the mouse here, my bar has never increased, the energy effect bar. I don't know if that went up with Hazardous Volley. It does a little bit. Every time a red flame goes off, the green bar is going up. So there we go. We use it a bit, and now we see a blue light here. It has turned on. So energy effect level is at 1. So when this little bar gets filled, we're at 30% more attack, which is the equivalent of 2 whole Burai mags. So if we just keep dancing around with that, our attack should go up again. I think it is every bar. Yeah. So every little like bit on that thing will affect how much energy you have. So now we're still at 1. Wow. Okay, I usually just use the Ogi, so I don't really know when it changes. So there's effect level 2, which is like halfway through this bar here. It's in a real battle, you wouldn't be like second guessing it and stuff, but it's at 60%. So it doubled. We have 60% bonus attack, which is more than Honda gets in attack mode. Just by the way, Honda gets like 50%, and it's like insane. Okay, cool. So it's still 60%. So there's Blue Moon Falling. It's 2 hits of cap. And then rank 7 is 3 hits of cap. But you'll notice that our bar went up really fast. And now we're at 90% attack. So we're almost double attack. We just spam that a couple times. But you can't just spam it on one weapon. There's a little bit of cooldown, especially if you're using like a Chiami or something on your build. So now we're at 150% extra attack and 15 critical. Energy level 5. That is as high as her bonuses go. So as we notice, it goes 30, 60, 90. I skipped it because Blue Moon Falling takes so much energy. We went past 120. And then finally it's 150. So 30% each increment. And on the 5th one, you gain 15 critical. So if I just keep using that, well, I'm at 1.5 times attack. My critical is up. I should have over 100 critical right now. Not that it matters. And there we go. The bar turned red because I went past this last little nudge. You don't have to fill it up at all. And then we're at an energy effect level 6, which basically means it's all turned off. We don't have any bonuses. If we max that out, we're still at energy level 6. And we're still capping. Like in this test dungeon, it really doesn't matter. So yeah, so that happened. So that's how that gauge works, basically. Yeah. So as you use Blue Moon Falling, your bar goes up really, really fast, which is good. It makes you stronger, faster. So if let's just count it out. So if I use like 5, it goes up a little bit. 6, it goes up, double. 5, 6, 5, 6, like that. I wasn't counting. I forgot to count. But we're already at like 90% attack. It's not that big a deal. Do 2 more of them. Now we're at 90% again. A third one puts us at 120%. And then so on and so forth. We do 2 more. And we're at 120. So right there, we should be at 150%. So when you get it to about, I want to say 85% of the bar, you're at max power. So if I use 1 more, I'm still good. I'm in the green. I do another one, I'm in the green. If I do 1 more energy depleting action, I'm going to lose all my attack bonuses. So, funny enough, this is where Plasmapocalypse comes in. Plasmapocalypse does not consume the gauge, but it lets us be at 150% attack. So if I use it, cap, there's no question, it is cap. Like, I am just capping you right now, no cap. Like, it's done. So it's just done. Like, let's go get a fresh one. Done. Dead. Kaput. Get this girl a blaze mech. And it can stun as well, so it can paralyze, it can stun, every hit's like 10 hits. Boom, done. 151 million times 10. Like, that was 1.5 billion damage in like very short amount of time. It's really ridiculous. But if I touch Hazardous Volley once, okay, it didn't take it away yet. It's not done yet. It's not done yet. So you do have to go over that little gate. That's really weird. I would have thought it would have shut it off. There it goes. Okay, cool. So once you get past this last little nudge, you go into energy level 6, and we don't have the bonuses anymore. And we don't do cap anymore. It's still a lot of damage because it's a test dungeon, but we don't do cap anymore because we lost all the bonuses. So in that situation, oh no, I'm over limit. What do? You heat purge. So you sit down for a couple seconds, your heat's all gone, and then you just raise it up again with Blue Moon falling and stuff. Thank you, Rachel. Because like Tsugumo actually has like a lot of technical stuff involved with her. Like she needs a more, not just let's use all our skills and hit stuff. Like it's, you gotta know what's going on. Okay, and then if we went to Plasmapocalypse really quick, you know, we're doing cap again because we're at 100% damage. Cool. Alright, so now I'll go into like how to actually like use Blue Moon Falling really quick. So I mentioned this earlier. Blue Moon Falling, we have it on every weapon. And when you want to just beat the shit out of the boss, let's be honest here, you're going to go Blue Moon Falling until you power up. And if they're weak to lightning, you bring up Plasmapocalypse. If they're not, don't even touch it. Just keep spamming ice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit L1, R2, L1, and then swap weapon. I'm going to hold down and circle, just skill, swap, skill, swap. I'm going to do it really fast, okay? So. Oh, but that's another thing you got to notice. So before you set that up, you want to make sure all your weapons, your skills are on Blue Moon Falling, or else you're just going to use the next thing you swap to. So you want every one of your weapons to be touching an Oogie Blue Moon Falling. And then you just go. You just attack, switch. And then you're basically just watching. So my gauge went over, like I'm at max, like I'm overheating, you know, but it doesn't really matter. And that's how you like skill swap really, really fast. It's technical. And then your SP drains like really fast. Like he's getting so hard, like getting hit so hard, he's just teleporting. He's not even like having a recoil. I'm attacking him, he's lifting. So you just gotta like practice that. And with your Tsugumo, you can just come here and practice. Oh, you run out of SP? Swap out. Swap back in. Give it another try. And if you do swap out and you swap back in, the game remembers where your cursor was for your skill select. So you can just come in and start spamming. And then you're just watching. Are you going up? Are you going down? Are you going down? Are you going up? And he's dead. So it's not as fast as Plasmapocalypse for sure, because that's just like mega ultra damage, but you gotta build up into that, use that Super Saiyan power. But you get to use Super Saiyan Blue like all the time because you're a protagonist and it doesn't matter. It's so much skill force, it really doesn't matter. And like if you can master just quick swapping with it, you're just pumping out 50 million, 50 million, 50 million. Every 2 skills, 50 million. And it's pretty much, as long as it works, it's gonna do a lot of damage with like very little cooldown with how it's built. With how this setup works, it just works. It just works really, really well. So the last things we got to cover about Tsugumo, or at least with the build that I'm recommending here, is Gatling Vision. So, as I mentioned before, PS4 players, beware, this will chug your game. So Gatling Vision, I use one of them, you backflip. and you shoot like a gun that shoots. We have done 60 hits. You get 60 hits out of it, and he gets stunned. But I hit him 60 times. That's pretty cool. Yeah, okay, that's great. But what if we use like 2 without leaving the dungeon? Oh, I'm in a bad spot. Let me get over here. Then you get closer. You can drop as many as you want. Your game's gonna chug-a-lug-a-lug-a-lug-a-lug, chug-a-lug-a-lug. Even the PS5's chugging. But there is an effective range where it doesn't work. You can have these out as much as you want. He's been hit 500 times, 600 times. If I had a Chiami, I would be full health like 8 times by now. So imagine if we had like bonus damage proccing and stuff like that. Like that would have been amazing. My SP barely went down. It chugs the shit out of your game. It'll DC all of your friends. But like, oh no, I'm low on health. Whip on a Chiami, bam, full health. Like, you know, easy peasy. The other move I mentioned, and it does not, as we can see here, Gatling does not affect energy level at all. It does not increase it. I don't know, it might decrease it, to be honest. Let's figure that out right now, because I don't use it for that purpose. Okay, I'm at 30% bonus attack. Let's use a Gatling. So it does not make your energy go down. We're doing 1,000,000 a tick in the test dungeon, which is very not good. Let me see if I can quickly raise the heat meter. We only have like a minute left on this swap, so. Okay, is that 150%? I think it is. Yeah, okay, cool. So we were doing 1,000,000 a hit with Gatling Vision. Let's use one now. We were doing 1.9, so it is doing like 1.5 times damage. It's not that crazy damage, but if we had damage multipliers going, holy lordy, we'd be pumping out a lot of extra damage. So you can see the game is chugging because we're hitting multiple enemies. It does penetrate. It's kind of crazy.